the cloud won't be seen tonight, so we can bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today we've got a little bonus show for you.
Yeah.
It's a game show bonus show.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything else that we didn't talk about so far this month.
Yes,
Wow.
which is everything. It's going to take, this is a 4-hour show.
Yeah, everything. Everything.
There's a lot of crap. I was thinking about this during the game show experience, that game shows have been with us forever, man. It's like this genre dates back to the radio days.
Yeah.
It dates back even to like the stage. They would have audience participation, prize-winning shows to get people into like vaudeville and things. There's always been some sort of competition, and especially like down from the radio. So like from the beginning of the medium, there was always game shows because it's really whomever came up with it. It's really a allegory for the pathos of man.
Yeah. I mean, Truth or Consequences was one of those shows that started on radio and then translated to TV. In fact, a lot of the early TV shows were game shows because they were so popular on the radio, and it made people listen. You know, I mean, you would listen because you might win something. And
well, it's also, you know, with any beginning of any medium, they pretty much ape the other. Like, you know, so they didn't really know what to do with television.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of radio shows and a lot of radio theater. You know, they had all those, you know, people doing sound effects.
Yeah.
Here we come, Margaret. Here's the murderer. Chase him. We're after him. Get on your horse.
Foley, is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, they would. Yes, but it would be an immersive radio experience.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but then they had to show it, and then that's a lot more effort than a guy just sitting at a desk ringing bells and bumping coconuts together to make horses run.
Yeah.
So, but the game show was an easy one stage environment where, you
had a 2-camera, 3-camera, maybe. Like, I mean, that's the way a lot of the early stuff was, you know, essentially stage plays that they were just putting on.
Well, yeah, and it's a game shows are cheap.
Yes,
you know
that is 100%.
You got a host. You don't got to pay the contestants if they win or lose. You know, you put them up in a hotel if they're from out of town or whatever. But back then it was like 8 cents to be in a motel.
You had to build one set, like it was minimal production crew. Like it was easy. It was easy to do, and people loved it. I mean, people loved the shows.
Yeah, because it was, you know, a chance for the regular guy. To be on the medium. You know, and it's you know what's funny is, the internet didn't spawn a ton of game shows.
No. I really thought like YouTube would have like, there'd be like homemade game shows and stuff. And there's a couple. There's a British guy who does, well, he hasn't done one in a long time, but he did a few.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work when it's one person.
Yeah, and I think it's weird. I mean, they did try to do like apps or stuff that were, you know, big game show contests or 1 versus 100 and you could actually win real money and stuff, but it was just so convoluted and difficult, and the internet is such an unwieldy place.
Yeah, and none of them really took off. I mean, none of them stuck around.
It's too much of a short attention span medium to really put a game. It'd have to be like a 50-second game show.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. But even then, that's still, like, as evidenced by Quibi, it's still not really going to work.
Yeah, I guess it's just, it's not the death of the game show, but it's just weird that this is a medium that didn't embrace it in a way
That's true.
You know, because it is still, it's a cheap way to do so. I mean, streaming services, definitely.
Yeah.
But they're more like cooking shows, baking competitions.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like reality dating shows where they're really sleazy.
Yeah.
Like come have Sex Island.
I hate those shows.
Dirty Boy Island. Come to Dirty Boy Island.
Yeah, because they're reality shows, but they're also kind of competition shows. I don't consider them to be game shows.
No, they're scripted reality salacious shows. Where cute dummies be cute dummies.
Which is funny because that really reality shows and how scripted they are is an indirect offshoot of the whole quiz show scandals in the 50s. And the fact that after the 40s, because TV came up around like 47, 48, and not a lot of people had TV, but they had to have content.
Sure.
And so they were doing these game shows, and they realized that they could be making way more money at these game shows if they just guided it a little bit.
Right. Look, people want to root for a certain type of person.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. The whole quiz show scandal.
Yeah.
From, what was it?
21.
21?
Well, there were a few, but
right,
21
but that was the most famous and
Yeah.
most egregious because the contestant was actually a very privileged, famous young man.
Charles Van Doren.
Yes, from the Van Doren family, whose father was a very well-respected
professor at Columbia. And
yeah, he didn't need any of this stuff. But
he was hand-selected to be on the show.
he was handsome, and he was rich, and he was white, and
waspy as hell.
he wasn't, the gross little man portrayed by...
No, well, the funny thing is that Charles Van Doren was actually... It was a woman that was winning, and when they came on and go, well... You're going to lose now, and he's going to win.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay.
Sure.
And didn't say anything, didn't just let it go.
Because that's what people did. They figured, authority knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
They didn't question it, which is so bizarre, but also just kind of like tantamount to the time because everybody trusted everything. They trusted their government. They trusted their police. They trusted...
Yes.
Everything was like...
Yes.
We had this social contract of trust that we just don't have anymore.
No.
For good and bad. I mean, you don't want to blindly follow anything, but there's a fine line between blindly following everything and then questioning everything with some bizarre conspiracy theory. And,
well, not even. I would say you can question everything. It's just that you shouldn't reject everything.
Well, you shouldn't reject answers and
Yes.
facts because
Yes.
they don't fit into your narrative. Welcome to the Q Hour.
Yeah. No, but it was interesting. I mean, Quiz Show's a great movie. If you have never seen it, it's a great movie. But it was huge. I mean, the woman that Charles Van Doren took over for, I looked it up and I don't remember her name now. She had won like $30,000.
That's why she was like, I got mine,
this was
fine.
1955.
Yeah.
It's like, that was a lot of money.
And she probably was ready to get back to her family. And, like, it's a lot of... It's just, they created a narrative that really worked perfectly. I mean, it captured...
Yeah.
The audience, it captured the minds of the country, and everybody was rooting for him. And there was all this. It worked so well. That they were bound to be caught. It's like if something. If your scheme blows up and is so successful, then people are going to start to wonder.
Too good to be true.
Exactly. Listen to your old stepdads. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and if it's too good to be true, babies. It is.
What goes around comes around.
Nobody's giving you a free laptop. Google isn't giving you a free laptop for being the 35th customer of the day.
Yeah. It was, the funny thing is now I don't remember the name of the guy the little tiny, very unattractive man who essentially outed the whole thing.
Right.
Although there was a couple others. I mean, it was all kind of came to a head
how we
at the
make
same time.
the guy that did the right thing the villain.
Yeah.
It's like, this gross little man who wouldn't toe the line for handsome Whitey McGee.
Right.
It's just like...
Well, he was really good at quiz shows.
He
wanted to have a fair chance.
Of course. It's just funny that it's like it just shows that this is exactly the point.
Yeah.
That we want to vilify the little gross nebbish guy.
Yeah, I want to say I think he was Italian, but but
he wasn't
he wasn't an
attractive
white dude.
He was a sweaty, normal human being from Queens. You know what I mean?
Joe.
He was a little bit, he wasn't super charming, but he was smart as ass, and he deserved to win. But they wanted more. They wanted to create this narrative. It's so also racist.
Oh,
too,
very, very, very.
Because it's like the
and
white man's. It's just gross. I mean, it's gross by every measure.
It was really awful
of it.
He was actually the other guy, the guy who outed everybody, was actually involved in Quiz Show and actually played a part in it. He was an actor, small bit part. They did ask Charles Van Doren to be involved, and he declined.
Of course,
it ruined his life. It sucks.
But I don't think it should have ruined his life.
Yes,
because it's a stupid game show.
Yeah.
But he committed fraud.
Yes,
and not just money fraud or however you want to put, if there's a statute to this that is a crime.
Right.
It ruined his life because back then that would ruin your life.
Yeah.
If it happened today, he would have a little bit of problem. He'd apologize, and then he'd write a book, go on an apology tour, and then they'd make a movie out of it. He'd be super rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like you fail upward in this country now for being a boob or a crime person or, you know, or being a cheat.
Anything.
It's like if you do something evil but interesting, yeah, it's going to be a 3-part Netflix documentary in a month.
Going to get your ratings.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be a moody Netflix documentary where they use dollhouses to recreate
documentaries.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's just ridiculous. And then they'll do the real life drama adaptation.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
There is just a small speed bump, but there is a really weird trend going on in streaming stuff right now with very similar to this, with frauds and like people that have screwed people over. And personally, I mean, and not to go deep into it, but like I think it's because of the Trump presidency and like we're just used to it. And it's like we want to know more about these people that are trying to be con men.
I think they've also kind of run out of serial killers.
That's true.
The true crime has to move on to a new genre, and like fraud and creepy neighbors and people screwing people over is another real visceral thing, like murder, you know?
It is. That's true, because it affects people, and you know, you can talk to people and they're upset.
We've all been screwed over. No. Not a lot of us have been murdered, but, you know.
Well, not lived to talk about it, at least.
But a lot of us have been screwed over. I've been screwed over plenty.
Oh, yeah, same.
I mean, you can't be in Los Angeles and not be screwed over constantly.
Yeah, you got to really look out for some people.
Yeah, you can't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. Yeah. I mean, okay, there's a couple people you can trust.
I trust you, Jim.
I trust you too, man. But that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, it's not. Here's the thing, and this is a little bit of a speed bump too. I don't think it's that people are evil in this business or whatever. No. I think people are extremely insecure in this business and extremely fearful in this business and extremely jealous in this business because we have artists in this business.
Yes.
And artists are mealy little. Look, I love them, and I'm one. I'll put myself in that category, and I'm exactly like this too. But there's a quality to a type of person that's going to devote their life to something most likely never going to happen or come to fruition.
Very small chance.
That you got to be a little kooky, you know?
Yeah.
And straddling two worlds and busting your butt to try to be something with nothing happening can drive you a little crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
So people get very precious about things, but they also, you know, they want that break.
Right.
So they'll step over you. They don't even think about it because it's just this desperate.
Yeah.
It's a business of desperation.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem, is that it's a business. And so people they put so much more stakes on everything. And this is part of the reason that the quiz show scandal happened, because they were like, we need to keep up in the ratings.
Yeah.
We need to keep up in the ratings. This tall white Columbia professor is going to get more ratings. And maybe he doesn't know all the stuff, but it's okay. We'll give him some answers. It's fine.
Well, we need to satisfy the sponsors.
Yeah.
You know, the dishwashing liquids and the Dove soaps.
Yeah, the Dove soap.
You know, the
cigarettes.
They need to. If they're not selling more soap, then they're not going to sponsor your show.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to lose sponsors, and you lose your money, and you lose your revenue, and what do you do?
And the sponsors, strangely enough, a little racist back then. They want sorry, Adam. Sorry to burst your bubble with my CRT.
But that's when America was great.
Yeah, I know. It was just a speed bump, slavery. It was just a tiny little thing. But the sponsors wanted somebody that was championing their product to be that American man, success, white.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
It's a much better face for Dove than, you know, I don't know, a foreigner. Even though he's just Italian-American, but he looks like the other.
A little darker.
Yeah, we don't want to look at that dark hair, that hairy face, that hirsute man.
He's not too dark. He's just very olive, and we can't have that.
I honestly have no idea what that guy looked like. But still, he could have been the most handsome man, too. But I doubt he was.
I don't think he was.
Because if he was, he would have been...
Yeah, they would have. Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. At the end of the day, the reason the quiz show scandal was so huge was because it was the first time where it was like, you saw that little crack in the armor of the social contract, and like how it's
you lied
like,
to
wait,
us.
yeah, like what? Like this is supposed to be entertainment. This is supposed to be fair.
We
and
rooted
it's
for
not.
him.
Yeah,
We watched this. We rooted for him,
Yeah.
and you lied to us.
and
You
that's
betrayed us.
precisely why Charles Van Doren was so lambasted, because it was like, because he was a reporter on the Today Show and he got fired from everything.
No,
like,
that thing opened up so many doors for him.
Yeah.
And, kind of took him out from under the shadow of his father and gave him his own. I mean, that's the conceit of the film. I don't know what the I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't researched the actual Van Doren. A lot of it's coming from what I know.
It's all
from,
conjecture, because at the end of the day, he didn't talk about it at all.
Well, no, but here's the crazy thing, Adam. Back then, when you were caught lying or cheating, there were consequences. It ruined your career.
It's crazy how that works.
Yes, because people didn't trust you anymore, because we lived in a society where, for the most part, people were handshake trustworthy.
Yeah, yeah.
Your word was your bond. All you had was your integrity and your word.
Yeah.
And if those were tarnished, then you might as well be called mud.
It was really interesting, because at the end, I mean, like the $64,000 question, we think about that now and it's kind of like, okay, but like that was like 1955. Like
Ton of money.
That is a huge amount of money now.
If we're talking about in 71, $99 was $300. $600.
Almost
Good
$700,
Lord.
yeah.
If $99 was $699,
Yeah.
then, you're going back another 20, 30 years.
Yeah, it would have been,
You could buy, you could not only cash buy a house,
yeah.
you could furnish it and buy a car or two
Yeah.
and set aside a little nest egg.
Yeah,
64
yeah.
grand.
Yeah, set aside. Yeah, that's true. It was true. I mean, it was huge. And afterwards, as we talked about in previous episodes, they didn't give that kind of money away. It was just like, okay, like we can't do this.
And the fact that a lot of the people watching this show either grew up or were children of the Depression, and they see this amount of money that people are winning, that is a life-changing amount of money.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
and it's given to this privileged dude,
yeah.
and he cheated for it.
Right.
To get all this money,
Yeah.
that he doesn't even necessarily need.
Totally.
Then it's just like F you, buddy.
Yeah.
F
Yeah.
you, because that is what was so disgusting to people.
Yeah, it was such a huge deal. It was such a huge scandal. I'm really surprised that game shows stayed on the air at all, and the few that survived, that they managed to keep on. I mean, like The Price is Right was there, and
Yeah, The Price is Right was, like you said, the Mark Goodson and Bill Todman.
Yeah.
They put together. They developed a impeccable reputation.
Yes,
an
yes.
unassailable reputation.
Right.
Unassailable. I don't know. Is that a word? Did I make that up? Anyway,
Unassailable?
I like
Sure.
making up
Yeah.
words.
I know what
But
you
no, but so they were able to stay, and then most of the other shows, like we talked about, were panel shows that were mostly like celebrities trying to figure out who, what's my line, or
Yeah, there wasn't really ways to be able to cheat at these shows,
right?
I mean,
to
tell the truth and
name that tune.
Name that tune,
I can name it in
yeah.
3 notes, Bob.
Ugh,
I can name it
God.
in 1 note, Bob.
I used to watch that in syndication. They used to air reruns of it.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And man, every time I was like, I don't know what any of these songs are. Even the one from the 70s, I was like, I should know some of this stuff.
Oh,
no,
it's so great though. It was like,
no.
well, I can name it in 5 notes, Bob. Well, I can name it in 4 notes, Bob. Well, I can name it in 3 notes, Bob. Well, then name that tune.
That's the Ragtime Shuffle.
And it goes, nip, nope,
Yeah,
Beethoven's 5th.
yeah.
Ding, 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 ding,
It was
ding.
always, it was like pop songs that quote unquote pop songs, but stuff that I was just like, all these things came out like 20 years prior to that, and I had no idea what these were.
I can name it in no notes, Bob. Well, then name that tune.
The Ragtime Shuffle.
It's always the Ragtime Shuffle. It's like C on a test.
Yeah.
Always go to the Ragtime Shuffle.
Oh yeah. So, what other game shows do you remember watching when you were growing up? Like, what other stuff stood out to you?
Well, I remember the more colorful game shows, like what was the one with no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies.
Press Your Luck.
Press Your
Yeah,
Luck.
Press Your Luck was great. Yeah, always going around. Yeah.
And I love the sound effects. I liked game shows that were colorful loud, and had sound effects. And, but mostly the celebrity stuff. Like anything. Like I love to tell the truth. All these weird old game shows that nobody knows about or watches. What's My Line? I love those shows because it was always so interesting to watch, to try to figure out who somebody was. It was such a weird show. It'd be like, and then I, like I said on the other show, the whole false get up thing was my favorite. Where they
the standing.
I'm gonna stand. Oh, it's you. But or the Gong Show. The Gong Show was just pure effing chaos, man.
So bizarre.
Just chaos.
I just watched a clip of it with Gene the dancing machine.
Oh, yeah.
And he's dancing, and he's just dancing in a circle. And then all of a sudden, everyone's throwing hats at him. What was the significance of the hats?
I don't know. Gene the dancing machine was a staple on that show.
They got to the point where he would turn, they would wait, and he would turn, and they would pelt him in the face.
Well, they threw their clothes at him. I mean,
eventually, they were
throwing all his clothes. And what's her name?
J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan. Yeah. She flashed. She flashed her chest.
Yeah.
That's what the thing was, though. That show was out of control, man.
It was so...
They must have all just been so coked up.
The clip was so great because he dances around, they do the thing, and then it's just done. And they're like, all right, see you next week.
Yeah, and then everybody's just...
yeah.
Because they're just so tired. Nobody
so
gonged them.
Bizarre. Chuck Barris was a weirdo.
Oh, yeah, I loved
Super
that.
Weirdo.
I loved... the $1.98 beauty pageant.
Oh, yeah.
With,
the other Chuck Barris show.
Yeah, but that was with Rip Taylor, with his little, and he's throwing the confetti.
Was that him?
Yeah.
Through the confetti?
Oh, with the mustache.
Yeah.
Rip Taylor was one of the funniest men ever.
Oh, that's right, because I was thinking of Rip Torn, but Rip Torn is the actor.
Very different Rip.
Very different Rip. Oh, no, Rip Taylor, that's right.
Yes, with mustache. And
he just randomly would pull confetti out of his pocket.
Yes, he
throw
was
it
just
around.
crazy. He was one of those just showmen.
Yeah, the $1.98 beauty show was so surreal and so bizarre.
It was back when there were personas.
Yeah.
Rip Taylor was a persona. He would always show up and throw his confetti. He had this character that he would play. Paul Lynde.
Yeah. Or Charles Nelson Riley.
Yeah, that's what I loved. You asked about, game shows that I loved. Mm-hmm. I loved the game shows. Hollywood Squares. The Hollywood Squares, Match Game. The one that had the 70s crazy, nutty, drunken celebrities that, was the same group of weirdos that they would just throw together, and some old timer like Don Rickles come in and, and he would insult everybody. It was just, to me, those game shows helped me create my vision of Hollywood, which was everybody just hung out. Yeah. They all slept in bunk beds and they all partied together and they all knew each other. And it was just this big group of fun, happy times, It just looked like the most fun place to be.
Yeah, totally. I was more about the quiz shows. That was always my thing. I liked the weird random trivia. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Match Game and Hollywood Squares and stuff like that. Although Hollywood Squares was kind of a hybrid of the two.
Yeah. It was
sort of. It was
because it was just always Hollywood Squares, for those who don't know, it was a game show where basically they asked the contestant got to pick a square.
Yeah.
It was tic-tac-toe.
Celebrity. Yeah, it was
and they would pick a celebrity square. Okay, so you have Barbara Eden. And then Barbara Eden. It would be like, all right, Barbara. So a mile is 17,000 feet. Is that true or false? And then Barbara Eden would think about it for a second, and then they'd write some dumb joke for her to say, and she'd say that dumb joke. Be like, if you walked a mile in my shoes, it'd be 1,000,000 feet. And then everybody would laugh, and then she'd go, I think that's false. And then the contestant would be like, I agree with Barbara. And then bing, 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 okay, so gets the square. And so it would basically be playing tic-tac-toe where the celebrities would answer. And then the celebrities would obviously answer wrong.
Yeah.
And then the poor contestants would be so nervous that they'd just be like, I agree. And then they'd be like, are you kidding me? It was a very funny show.
There are not 1,000,000 feet in a mile.
No. But I also like $25,000 Pyramid.
Yeah, because that was also celebrities. I mean, I loved 25,000. That was one of them I remember watching growing up, in the afternoon.
And Dick Clark is another host that we don't talk about
Amazing
because he was so everybody
shows.
Equates him to, the countdown, the New Year's Eve,
Rockin' Eve.
Yeah. But he's hosted so many game shows.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah. He was a Go ahead.
No, he was great. He was just, I mean, because he started as a DJ, didn't he?
Yeah. He was a consummate broadcaster.
Yeah.
The guy that started in radio. You know, he was the hip young guy with all the teenagers. Ooh, what's going on, gang? You got your dungarees on? Let's dance to a little rock and roll with you. Everly Brothers. And then, but he adapted. He was like the prototypical Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
But so much more likable and just so much more. He did everything.
Yeah. He did. If it was on TV, he did it.
I mean, he hosted a show called Boners, Bloopers, and Bleeps. With Ed McMahon, that was just them hosting a show. I just loved that the show had boners in it.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like wiener boners. They used to call boners mistakes back then. You pulled a real boner, Adam.
All right,
look at that. You just pulled a boner.
Did you really need to explain that?
Yes, I did because people don't understand. So anyway, boners, bloopers, bleeps, and where they would talk about, they would just show. Bloopers from TV and film and commercials and stuff.
Newscasts and stuff. Yeah, there was a couple of specials that way. Yeah.
But it didn't matter. It could have been like a show about euthanizing puppies, and they could have had Dick Clark host it, and he would have been a professional and done a great job.
Yeah, he was one of those like Regis Philbin was one of those broadcasters. Yep. It was just somebody that they started on radio way back in the day, and then they got into TV and. Next thing you know, they've been on TV for a billion years.
Yeah.
And
Ed McMahon, I mean, he was the sidekick for Johnny Carson for many, many years. But before that, he was a broadcaster. And after that, he was a pitchman for just about everything.
Oh, ever.
Yeah. He would show up everywhere.
Gold. Turn in your gold.
Turn in your gold.
Also, he was the original publishing clearinghouse guy,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. Publishers Clearinghouse, that's what it is.
Ed McMahon shows up at your door. Here's your RV and your $1 million.
Buy magazines and you might win $1 million.
Hey, you got a whiskey for your old pal Ed?
There were some really great game show hosts that were just game show hosts. Yep. Like Bert Convy. Yeah. It was fantastic.
Amazing. You could have that job.
Yeah.
You could have that job. There's enough game shows that you could be a professional game show host. It was like being a weatherman.
Yeah. Which, apparently you don't really need anything to be a weatherman.
No, I have a good friend who's a weatherman.
Yeah.
And he's a very good weatherman.
Does he have a degree in meteorology?
I don't think he does. He may have gotten his degree, but he got a break, and he was just really good at it. And
I just finished watching Small Town News, the HBO documentary
about Pahrump.
And the first episodes are great, and then it ends in the pandemic, and so then they come back. It's like literally everybody's left, and they have new people.
Yeah.
And the weatherman they hired was just the wife or the husband of the anchor,
yes.
And he's like, "Yeah, I can do this."
That's his whole thing throughout the whole thing. He's like, "I can do it."
Sure, whatever.
They just throw that poor guy into everything.
But it was so great because it was like, yeah, that's really weatherman. That's kind of how it is. You just look up the weather and then talk about it.
And especially now that everybody has apps and craps, it's just you don't even need a weatherman.
Yeah.
It's like the traffic guy.
I worked on a morning show for a long time back in Des Moines, and our weatherman, he was a very nice guy, but man, he took it way too seriously.
Well, you have to look. There's certain careers, I think, if you don't have the capacity to not take yourself seriously and realize you're just doing a silly job that really doesn't matter, then you should have that job.
Yeah.
But if you need to think that your work matters in the world, don't take that job because you're just going to be an insufferable jerk.
No.
The weatherman, his job is to tell the weather, to go to openings of clubs or stores,
pet stores,
or pet adoption,
pet adoptions,
days, to
the
go
fair,
to 100%, go to the fair to introduce REO Speedwagon on the main stage. It's a fun life.
No, it's you get TV time.
You just have to have a killer smile, a great voice, and you have to be trustworthy.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, I really kind of miss local news. Like, I really enjoyed working on the morning show.
You also need a name.
Yes.
Dallas Raines.
He's a local LA guy.
Johnny Thunder.
Johnny Mountain. I think there was a Johnny Mountain.
Sure, there was a Johnny Mountain and a Johnny Thunder.
Do you think it's his real name?
Thunder Mountain.
Mountain.
Yes. Johnny Mountain.
So, Jim, I'm taking a new job, and my name is Thunder Mountain.
Nice. Are you a weatherman?
No, I'm just like Thunder Mountain.
Yes. Rainy Sleets.
No, nobody would.
I'm going to be Rainy Sleets.
Nobody would hire Rainy Sleets.
I'm going to be Drizzle Smog.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this is Drizzle Smog with your weather.
No, it's gotta be like, it's like Jimmy Prairie or something. Like
Jimmy Thunder.
Jimmy Thunder.
Jimmy
Okay.
Lightning.
Jimmy Thunder.
Jimmy Hailstorm. This is Jimmy Hailstorm with the weather.
I am in a hailstorm. I literally named myself this just to be in a hailstorm.
I would love to host a game show. I would love it.
I would, like I said, I said this previously, I would really love to be involved in production of game shows. I know that they would be a pain in the ass, but like at the end of the day, it's exciting to me. Like man. I would love to write for Jeopardy. I would love to be on these game shows and like, you know, because I love it. I love it so much. And I love learning new things, and that's literally you're doing is just writing new trivia.
I just like being goofy, and I like being with people sometimes. I like being paid to be with people.
Yes.
So, and I'm very charming when I'm being paid to be with people.
That reminds me, I need to give you some money for this.
No, but I think I have the skills.
Yeah,
to be a game show host. And I don't say, I'm not a
100%.
very braggy guy, and I'm not saying I would be the best, but I could do it. I've done a lot of MC work. I've done a lot of like hosting stuff, and it would be so much fun to just, you spend a day, you do 3 or 4 shows, you work 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
You do your thing, you wear a nice suit. You make people happy.
You just
some people say.
You gotta laugh and God knows there have been some really awful game show hosts.
Yes.
I really like that, like Idiot Test. I don't know if you ever watched Idiot Test. I can't remember the guy's name. He was a stand-up comedian, and he's funny and he's great, but he was not good at hosting that show.
No, it is an art. I mean, it is a skill that you need. You can't just be funny. You can't be snarky.
Yeah.
You can't be a jerk. You can be playful and you can tease, but you can never. You're just kind of the guy that's moving things along, making sure everybody's energetic, trying to. You're the engine that's running the show.
Yeah, you're
everything moving.
The ringmaster. Yeah.
It takes improv skills. It takes moving on your feet. It takes a lot of. That's why I think John Michael Higgins was such a good host, because he's great at improv.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Super personable.
Yeah.
He's really funny. Same with Craig Ferguson.
Oh, he's hysterical. Yeah.
Super funny guy. Genuinely friendly person.
Yes.
Like I didn't feel fake. He seemed like a super nice guy. He was really nice to us behind the scenes. After we won, he hugged us and was really cool about it. Was very, very nice. It's just like that was a classy production that we had a really good time from beginning to end. The waiting around, all that stuff, it's inevitable. You can't, nothing is going to be easy peasy.
I mean,
in
that's
television production or any sort of
production. Right, exactly. That's not unique to game shows. That is something in film and TV production you have to get used to.
But once we got there and we knew we were going to be on the show, and they got us in makeup and they got us in wardrobe and they did all that, it really was smooth. It was great. We felt really taken care of. Our handler, producers, whatever, that shepherded us through the whole thing were so sweet and so nice and so genuinely seemed happy that we won. It was just such a great experience.
Yeah,
that nobody can ever see because they've hidden our episode down deep in the dungeon of things that can never be seen again.
So I some other game show hosts that we didn't talk about, like I totally forgot that Wink Martindale existed.
Oh, Wink!
I loved Wink Martindale back in the day. Like he was great.
Wink Martindale. He was just so bubbly and nice.
Yeah,
always had a smile on his face, and
smile,
he did wink. He was a winker.
He was a winker.
Lived up to his name.
And Bob Eubanks. Bob Eubanks was great on the Newlywed Game.
Bob Eubanks.
Yeah, he was so. He looked like your uncle or your grandpa. Like he was just somebody that you could be like, okay.
And then where's the weirdest place that you ever had made whoopee? In the butt, Bob.
Yeah. If you have it, there's on YouTube. There's the very first game show bloopers or something.
Bloops, bleeps, and boners.
And they have no, it's not bloops, bleeps, and boners. But it's on YouTube. But they teased that the entire show because it was mythical. It was
Yes.
like, oh, was that real? Did it
Yeah.
actually happen? And they aired it for the first time. It was like 1991 or something, and they aired it for the first time in like 15 or 16 years.
It was hilarious. The Newlywed Game with Bob Eubanks. If you don't remember, they would bring on these quote unquote newlyweds,
Yeah.
and they would ask one partner questions about the other partner, and then they would have the other partner answer the questions, and they would have them on these giant poster cards that they
Yeah,
kept in their
yeah.
laps, and then they would say, "All right. So we asked your wife, what is your favorite kind of flower? And you said, the peony." And then she holds up the thing and it says, "No, it's roses. I've always said it's roses." And then she smacks him on the head with it and everybody laughs. But that's the whole thing. It broke up so many marriages. So many divorces happened because of that show. But it was really funny because you would see, it was one of those kind of humiliation shows. You know?
Yeah.
There was all these shows in the 70s and 80s that were built around personality more than like competition.
Yeah.
You know, dating shows or Gong Show. Gong Show wasn't a talent show. It wasn't about getting the greatest violinist, playing Four Seasons. It was about a guy that somehow rigged together 4 puppets, 2 on each side, and he could dance. All of them could dance.
Literally the precursor to America's Got Talent.
It was the precursor to America's hugest problems. It just kind of it's so funny about that show. We keep coming back to it. But what's so funny about that show is when it was on, it was considered like dangerous, like the base of humanity. And it was not
the weirdos you didn't want to talk to.
But it was also just seen as like, hey, this is going to ruin society. This kind of thing, you're championing
whatever
mediocrity, and it was just like it's the same thing.
Get your panties in a bunch. That's fine.
But it's just so quaint. The things that were so disturbing to people back then is just like.
I mean,
really?
I thought it was disturbing when they were throwing hats at Gene's face. Yeah.
What other hosts had him?
Bert Convy. I loved Bert Convy. He was such a great host. Taken way too soon.
Yeah, I met Bert Convy.
Oh yeah,
he was real. I auditioned for Win, Lose or Draw.
Yeah. Which was him and Burt Reynolds.
Yes,
made the show together.
It's based on Burt Reynolds' living room. Which is such baloney. But
I just love they literally called it Burt and Burt Productions.
Yeah, which is so great. That was like Burt Reynolds' television heyday. He was he had like Evening Shade. He had a good transition. Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, he was great. Career. Burt was great. I mean, you wouldn't expect it, but he was like, yeah, why not? Let's get into this.
Yeah, no, Bert Convy was so personable. He had that. He wasn't flashy.
No, he was very man next door, neighbor next door. Yeah.
Yes, he knew how to sit back and let the other people shine.
Yes.
He knew what his job was facilitating. He's not going to upstage Dom DeLuise.
Yeah.
And Burt Reynolds or Lonnie Anderson.
Yeah.
When they're doing their scribbies.
No, it's not. Yeah, he was a great host, and actually him and Roy Combs were kind of both like kind of neighbor next door, like just letting that happen.
There was always, I don't know, man. Roy Combs kind of had this thing. There's a darkness to him, baby. No, I'm serious.
Of course there was. I mean, we've been borne out by the fact that he killed himself.
But it was not, he couldn't hide it 100%. Like, those other guys can pretty much hide it, but there was something in his eyes.
Yeah.
Something in him that when you look back at his shows after what he did to himself.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem completely out of the...
Right.
But I guess, with anything, there's always clues afterwards. Armchair quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He ended up killing himself. He ended up beating himself in the head with a brick.
Yeah.
Which didn't kill him. It got him in the hospital or whatever, but then once he got out, he killed himself.
Yeah, he went out to a field and, I can't remember what he did.
I don't either, but it was
very odd and very strange.
But Jesus, man.
But yeah.
You really want to kill yourself if you're doing it with a brick because...
Yeah,
you could stop at any time. It's just, I can't. I don't know, man.
It's not, it's a lot. It's
like
a lot.
I get hanging or taking pills or, stuff that's just really quick. Like people that jump off of buildings. Gun's so messy. I think a gun is super gross because other people have to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
Don't use a gun. If you're going to kill yourself, okay, listen, use pills, put a bag over your head. Do something that's not going to be super messy and traumatic for the people that find you.
Don't be Roy Combs.
This is yours.
Or Ray Combs?
The more you know.
Combs.
Boo, 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 boo. Suicide.
Don't
kill yourself. I don't know,
don't.
unless
It's
you really
not
want
worth
it.
it.
No.
Yeah.
Don't kill yourself. We're not advocating suicide.
No, don't. There's always a reason not to.
But if you're going to do it in a non-messy way. Like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like, if you jump off a building, that's so much time to think about the end.
I mean, it depends on how big the building is, but
I always thought one of the weirdest suicides, this is just this is a
Total
strange
speed
tangent.
bump.
One of the weirdest suicides was Tony Scott, where he just stopped his car, ran over, and without any hesitation just jumped off a bridge.
yeah.
He was just driving,
Yeah.
went and jumped off a bridge and killed himself. It was like,
Yeah.
it's just, that one is so bizarre to me because it's like, what? He was just
he
like,
decided at
that's
that
it.
moment. Yeah.
It's like, that's it. I mean, did he decide at that moment? Was he driving to it? It's just,
I don't know.
I
There was a great documentary about called The Bridge. If you've ever seen it, about the Golden Gate Bridge and,
Yeah.
people jumping off the bridge and a couple people that survived.
Right.
And it was a good 7 seconds from the bridge down to the water, and it was enough time for at least one of them to go, "What the hell am I doing?"
made a big mistake.
And he managed to go in the water feet first, managed to almost kill himself by jamming his leg bones into his torso.
Oh, good Lord.
But he survived. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, too. Like, the worst. I know this
gone
has
really
really
dark.
gotten dark. But the worst is, like, the kid, the Judas Priest kid that blew his face off with a shotgun. Like, he put the shotgun under. He didn't kill himself, but he blew his whole face off and lived.
Yeah.
And, like, your life is so crappy that you're going to kill yourself, and now you blew all your eyes and face and mouth and everything off, and you have to live? What?
One of my favorite characters, comic book characters, Arseface from Preacher, who did the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure inspired by the Judas Priest kid. Anyway, let's talk about something else. That got really dark.
Yes,
but
let's
that's
talk
where he
about
comes,
child
man. That's what
sex
he does.
trafficking.
Yeah, no. Chuck Woolery was a great host. Now he's a...
Yeah, Chuck Woolery was fine. Yeah, I don't know.
He was just on a lot when I was young, so like because he did like Scrabble and Love Connection and like all this stuff, and it was stuff that was just on when I was in like elementary school and middle school.
So, guys, how was your date? Oh, did you have a good time? I don't know. He was pretty handsy. Yeah, he likes the ladies. Yeah, Love
And then they
Connection
cut
was
to
gross.
him, and he's like, "I thought we had a great time."
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. He stunk. He had a weird
It was
smell to
such a
him.
weird show. It was a yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, we went out and I paid for everything. And then she was just like, I'm not kissing you. And I was like, what did I pay for then? What did I pay for? Why don't you give me my half of the money? And then she's all like, you're a jerk. And I'm like, I'm the jerk. I'm the one who paid for dinner.
Yeah, it sounds like she's a real jerk.
Yeah.
I'm a jerk. It was just very sexist. It was gross.
It was awful. Yeah, I mean, it was not a good show by any means.
It was like studs. They had all these gross.
There's some really awful damn
Oh my
game
God,
shows.
yeah. There was, man.
Studs was really bad. Singled Out on MTV.
Yeah.
wasn't terrible,
No.
but like at the same time, it was.
But
it
it
was
was-
literally you and 100 people and going, all right, all of you go away, and maybe I'll have one person left.
It was that gross time too, where they had like that show where they judged women, and they would like Tommy Lee would be like, "Hey, bro,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
right here." They literally take
draw on
a
them, yeah.
marker and be like,
All right, okay, lady. Look, you got some love handles here. They're pretty gross. Yeah, look, underneath your arms is kind of saggy, and it's giving me a saggy B. And I just think all around you need a little bit of lipo. You should probably get a nose job, and
Right. What was
get
the-
some contacts in those nasty eyes of yours, lady.
Yeah, dating
You don't
shows.
rip.
Dating game shows were from the very beginning have always been super creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, starting with the dating game.
Yes.
Like it was just weird.
Yes.
You
There's
know?
just too many serial killers that were on dating games.
That's true.
That won. It actually won. There was that one, Rodney Alcala.
Oh, yeah. Rodney Alcala. Yeah.
He was on the dating game and he won. But the lady was like,
she wouldn't go.
I'm not going on with him. He's great.
The entire crew was like, this guy's weird.
Yeah. You can't. There's a vibe, man.
Yeah.
There's a vibe. It's like some guys can get away with it. You know, I guess John Wayne Gacy got away with it for a long time, even though his house stank, like dead bodies. But I just, it's like, but there was another serial. I think the Hillside Strangler somebody was on.
I think it didn't Richard Ramirez?
Yes.
Yeah. He was on a game show. I don't know if it was the dating game or which one it was, but.
Every time I hear about him, all I think about is that the way that they talked about his breath.
Yeah.
Like he had this, because his teeth were rotting in his mouth and stuff. And he just had it was like he just gargled with diarrhea.
Yeah, if you don't take anything away from this episode, brush your teeth twice a day, for the love of God.
And if your teeth are rotting, go see a dentist.
Yeah, go see a dentist.
And don't be a serial killer. That's not
don't
cool,
be
people.
a serial killer, yeah.
The more you know.
There's, I think game shows, or dating game shows at least, had culminated in what I thought was one of the most horrifying dating game shows ever, hosted by Jerry Springer, Baggage.
Oh my God!
Which
I forgot. Oh,
it's
Jesus.
Awful, and that thing ran for like 5 years.
Yeah,
and it was awful.
Yeah, and they literally made them open up baggage.
Yes. And
to
it was
show what their baggage was.
Deepest secrets that these people were willing to talk about on TV.
What it just shows you the power of celebrity, the power of fame.
God.
It was such a degrading time back then, which completely makes all of social media make sense. Because
Baggage was for like 2010.
Well, no, what I'm saying is like back, all starting with like Jerry Springer and all these game shows with their race to the bottom of like, you are not the father, or, Nazis versus transsexuals, or whatever it was that they would put together these disparate groups that, naturally were going to throw chairs at each other. Yeah. And just, it was like, all right, we're going to throw a bunch of scorpions.
Oh, yeah. And Donahue, Phil Donahue was eventually we'll be doing a talk shows.
And he started out as a pretty respectable talk show host.
Well, he was a reporter. Like, he was a journalist.
Yeah.
He was a journalist.
But his show, and his Donahue show, was like a respectable show for
and
quite
it
a while.
Just went downhill.
It's because, you know why? Marlo Thomas. She was the reason why. Once he married Marlo Thomas, that girl, you know what that girl was? Problems.
Did you know that Maury Povich's show just got canceled?
Yeah.
Did you know it was still on the air?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
No.
I had no idea. It just got canceled like a month ago.
He's like 80-something.
He's got to be.
Hey, you're not the father. Now it's like, you are not the grandfather.
It's true. That's true. But that was, so anyway, the dating shows I always thought were super weird.
But interesting. I loved the Newlywed Game. I loved.
It was fantastic because it was probably the reason why I never want to get married. Yeah. I mean, honestly,
the dating game was great too because it was so stupid. The woman or the man there was the person that was asking the questions. There was 3 contestants, and then there was a person that was picking a date out of the 3 bachelors or bachelorettes.
The original was usually a woman picking from 3 guys.
3 bachelors.
Usually,
and then the questions are like, bachelor number 1. If I was a banana and you were hungry, how would you eat me? And then he'd be like, well, I'd slowly take your peel off. Woo! Ah, woo! And then I'd just
trying with
nibble on you. And it was like, oh, and then she'd be like, oh, so sexy. What about you, bachelor number 2?
And then Rodney Alcala would be, I would eat you whole.
I would bite your head off and then suck your blood out.
Swallow you entirely.
And I'd take pictures of your body. But you're too old for me. I like them young.
Oh, if you ever have a chance to watch the Rodney Alcala, there's clips on YouTube. It is so creepy.
But there's a really great podcast called The Dating Game Killer. It's 5 or 6, maybe 10 parts. But it's a really good podcast.
Nice.
Just dedicated to that if it interests you. But yeah, the dating game was just so dumb. And but like you would see John Hamm would be on, or you would see some of your favorite celebrities when they were young studs, just looking like goofballs with their crazy 80s haircuts.
My favorite thing, and the only thing that I think Dating Game was good for, was that it spawned the Whose Line Is It Anyway improv game.
Yeah.
of the really weird people on the dating show, which was always my favorite. I mean, it was funny.
Whose Line Is It Anyway was a show. It was originally in England, and when Comedy Central first came on board, it was basically they would play Whose Line Is It Anyway 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then and then at night it would be like Craig Kilborn and reruns of something stupid.
Talk Soup or
something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
All these, I think Talk Soup was E.
Oh, I think you're right.
But anyway, so Whose Line Is It Anyway, the American version at least, because they would play the English version on Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And then they made an American version.
It started in the early 90s. Yeah.
And then they started an American version with Drew Carey hosting.
Yeah.
And it had Ryan Stiles, who was also on the Drew Carey show, and Colin Mockery, who was also...
They were both on the original. They were on the British version.
They were on the British version. And then there was also Wayne Brady.
Yeah.
And...
Greg Proops was always my favorite. Yeah.
And some...
And they would do random stuff. I mean, random people throughout. And just improv. It was all improv games.
But they played good games. It's like, it wasn't... Like, improv is so hit or miss. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Confession time. I did comedy improv for about 20 years. and I loved it. But to me, improv, the way that it should be done like scenes. Like, I don't like improv games.
Yeah.
Where it's like, sometimes there's fun. Like, they would do stuff like, guess the party quirk or whatever, and the person would come in and you'd ask them questions, but it was done as a scene.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, sitting in chairs being like, are you a weirdo?
Right. You're acting things out, and you're trying, and you could tell the people that were guessing that were good at it and like kind of made it into a scene versus the people that were not good at improv.
The miracle of that show is that it made improv watchable and enjoyable. And
the downside is that it made improv watchable and enjoyable,
exactly.
and it spawned a billion people to do improv.
But strangely, it didn't. Not because when that was on, people didn't give an S about sketch and improv.
Yeah, that's true.
We were we were the only indie group running around that wasn't affiliated with the Groundlings or LA Connection or those. And then I think those were probably the only two that were around back then, were the Groundlings and LA Connection. LA Connection was the worst.
When did Improv Olympics start at some point?
That came later.
Yeah.
But it was, if you didn't get into the Groundlings, then you would go to the LA Connection.
Right.
And anybody could get into the LA Connection. Anybody.
It's like UCB now.
It was awful.
They'll take anybody as long as you give them money.
I got onto the Sunday show at LA Connection where you would get paid. Paid. It was like, once we make this nut, then everybody gets to split $3.
Yeah.
But there were people that were so bad that as soon as you would start the scene, I'd kill them. So they would just have to lay there dead the entire time and not screw up the scene with their questions and awful denials. It's just, improv is a very hit or miss kind of thing. And when it misses, baby, it's like, there's nothing worse.
No, it's awful. It's awful.
Even mimery. Bad mimery.
Oh, yeah.
Is more palatable than horrible improv.
I would be amiss if I didn't mention one of my favorite, and I think one of the game shows that was really created, not the first one to be created for Generation X, but Remote Control on MTV. Definitely the first MTV game show, but being hosted by Colin Quinn and Ken Ober. That's who it was. It was Ken, I think Ober? It was, but it had Colin Quinn and Adam Sandler and Dennis Leary. Eventually, were co-hosts.
Yeah, that was when, because I grew up with MTV when MTV was a music station, and we would wait with bated breath for the next video to come out, and we would watch videos, and it really was awesome. So when MTV slowly became a reality show station, it was hard for us to kind of go with that transition. Yeah. Like the MTV Spring Break and it was just like...
Yeah, I mean, I was coming of age around that time, so it was stuff that I was just used to. It was like, okay, it's on MTV.
Oh, sure,
whatever, I mean... But it was partially created by Joe Davola, and Joe Davola, if you don't know, is depicted in Seinfeld as
Crazy Joe Davola.
Crazy Joe Davola. He's an actual person and someone that I worked with on One Tree Hill. and he definitely lives up to his name.
Did he dress up like Pagliacci?
No, he looked normal on the outside. In fact, he had lost like 200 pounds. Like the guy became this weird, floppy skinned dude, but he was insane. He was absolutely insane. He really liked me, but he was insane.
Oh, because you're insane.
I have a tempering effect
Birds
on crazy
of a feather,
people.
baby.
Yeah. But yeah, it was remote control is great. He was also the other thing I love about Joe Davola is like he founded the improv sketch comedy group, The State.
Oh, that's
like
a
he
good one.
brought them to MTV. So like I'll always credit him for that. But he also found he was also one of them that started The Real World. He was one of the first producers on that.
Wow.
So really, honestly, I'm going to blame everything on Joe Davola.
No, he started the whole reality show thing.
But remote control was fun. I mean, there was a weird NES version that came out like the year after it started, and it was just clunky and weird. You had to like type in answers with the NES controller. It was just awkward.
I'm sorry, man. I don't think there's really ever been a good game show video game. Except for
No.
Jeopardy. There was a good... I
Yeah.
got a good at Jeopardy on my... Because it's easy. Jeopardy's just,
Yeah.
There's no bells or whistles, baby. It's a very easy game to
Yeah.
It's a very easy game to
To adapt.
thank you. It's a very easy game to adapt.
Yeah.
But like Price is Right,
What
you don't-
What do you do?
you don't get anything.
Yeah.
At least with Jeopardy, you get the the knowledge that you're not a dummy, I guess. But I don't understand. It's like, what's the home game of remote control?
It was super weird.
And what was remote control? Was it like guess? Was it a trivia game?
Trivia.
What was
It was just trivia. It was like pop trivia. It was all like aimed at the MTV generation. Like it was all just like music and
I'm
TV
sure I
and
watched
pop
it.
trivia. I'm sure you did.
We were more like, because that was what 90s.
Late 80s, like 89, 90, something like that. Yeah.
Like
It was then they were like in giant recliners and they sat in a
Oh no, I
living
totally
room and, like,
remember.
yeah.
I don't think we had cable because we were in college. We might have
Oh,
had,
probably not. Yeah.
Maybe we did. I don't know. We did a lot of drugs back then.
Look, it's not the only thing about it is that it was I mean it was like 86. Anyway, but it was one of the first things Adam Sandler did,
Yeah.
one of the first things Colin Quinn did. Like it was just kind of a like we're going to do a game show and it's going to be our thing, and it was just kind of seat of their pants like whatever.
Well, it goes to show that everything is going to try a game show.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon, they did
Oh
game
yeah,
shows.
yeah, Double
MTV
Dare,
does game shows.
Double Dare and Guts.
Yeah. TLC started doing game shows.
Yeah.
The Game Show Network does game shows.
Don't do Game Show Network shows.
But everybody's doing game shows because, again, cheap to produce.
yeah.
Especially these new game shows are like, all right, we're going to give you $80.
Yeah.
It didn't cover the gas to get
You
here.
win $200. Great.
Yeah, they can get you in. It's the power, again, the power of fame.
Being on the TV,
Yeah.
getting your 15 minutes. I mean, you're going to be on there and do it. And
It's funny. I mean, when the celebrity name game thing came on, there were people that were like, "I saw you on the TV." People I hadn't heard from in a long time.
Yeah.
Good thing. I was glad they had a lot of makeup.
All right. Well, we're pretty much out of time. So, is anything else that you want to mention before we head out and end our game show month?
No, it was fun. I really enjoy. It's funny. I enjoy game shows through you more than I enjoy them of myself. Like,
Yes.
your love of game shows is contagious.
Yes.
And it makes me want to watch game shows. And that's the cool kind of I'm not going to say obsession, but that's the cool kind of fandom.
Yeah.
Is
yeah.
the fandom that is contagious rather than the fandom that is toxic and makes you want to stay the hell away.
Yes.
Like the Star
Yes.
Wars fans. They're like, oh, you ruined my childhood. But you're not like that, man.
No. I mean,
No, but you make it, yeah. It's like and I think game show fans are like that because it lends itself to empathy and wanting people to succeed.
Yes.
And
Yes.
positivity and good energy. Unless you're cheating, but it's like I think it's a
hopefully not.
very positive, cool thing. I think the reason why game shows are going to continue is because I think they're not just because they're cheap to be made, it's
Yeah.
because they really make people happy, and there's not a lot of stuff that does that these days.
they provide a level of hope That it's like, yes,
Exactly.
I can do this. You can do this.
I can somehow, in this dreary world, punch through and have a little bit of success.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
And people can watch me do it. And they can feel good, too.
Exactly.
The $1.98 beauty hour,
Beauty show.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, already in progress.